Earth art is the last category I want to discuss with you. And, many people say, is this a type of installation? Sure. Which brings us back to a lot of these terms are flexible. And you'll notice that they can encompass a lot of different things. So sometimes when I'm speaking about art with students, they'll say, well, that's confusing. And I'll say, well, it's art. So sometimes it's confusing. But can earth art be installation? Yes, I believe so in a lot of ways. So keep this in mind. You might also hear the term earthworks. Again, doesn't really matter. You can use whatever term you like. And I'm sure you figured out by now, these pieces have to deal with something on the earth. And when these started to be created in the 60s and 70s, people were very excited by them because it was really challenging the idea of where art could be. And so these things are out on the landscape, they're part of the environment, and people had never seen really anything like that before. Besides, things like Stonehenge or that type of piece. So many people were very excited about this idea of getting out of the gallery, getting out of the museum, and having the ability to explore the environment with the art pieces. And this is Robert Smithson, very famous piece, the Spiral Jetty. This is located in the Great Salt Lake in Utah and is maintained by the DF Foundation. Now, interesting fact, interesting thing to consider, Smithson didn't really expect this to be a permanent work. So look how we treat art, right? He basically wanted this thing to dissolve or disintegrate or break down. He talked a lot about entropy and things breaking down. Even the spiral, he said, was about entropy or things coming to an end or a conclusion. So the fact that this thing is now maintained by a foundation, I don't really know how he'd feel about that, but it's cool for us to be able to see it. But again, it really wasn't meant to last. You also have to think about the approach he took to these pieces, which is using a giant crew of people to make them. This is not something you make on your own as an artist. But, it's in the environment of the Great Salt Lake. And it's sometimes when the water rises, you can't see it. Other times you can. So you really have to think about how nature impacts a work like this. And the work that nature does upon it. Here's a nice aerial shot of the Spiral Jetty. Another of Smithson's work, Amarillo Ramp. So again, you'll notice using shapes and forms right in the natural environment. This is Eliasson, and I've always been a great fan of his work since actually I worked at the Carnegie Museum of Art in Pittsburgh. I'm from the Pittsburgh area as far as where I'm from originally. And when I was doing my master's degree, I came back to Pittsburgh and I did an internship in the education department of the Carnegie. And the Carnegie signature show is what they call the Carnegie International. And it's an invitational, where people are invited to send pieces in. It's usually the Lumieres, of the art world. It's people who are very hot right at the moment and very in vogue and fashion. And I was lucky enough to do an internship for this international, which was the 1999-2000 year. And I got to see them installing this Eliasson piece and putting it up. And what he does, he's Icelandic, and he does these works that kind of incorporate nature. And he built this platform and filled it with water, and it has a steam vent coming out of it. And Pittsburgh, it's a place where you got seasons, right? So you have hot, you got cold, you got winter, you got summer, and you could watch the environment change through the season. So I got to see it in the summer while I was interning. And then when I came back for Christmas to see my parents, and I basically took everyone I knew to see the show because I had done a lot of the research for the show and wrote up a lot of stuff for the show. So I was very proud, wanted everyone to see it. It's just a great show. I got to see the sculpture Frozen. So it was interesting to see how the sculpture, the installation, was literally meant to be part of the environment and fluctuate with the environment. Other works that he's done that are very famous are his New York City waterfalls, where he literally made these frames where water could run up and over the frames and give this impression of a fake waterfall, essentially. On the right is the artist's conception drawing, by the way. On the left is how it actually looked under the Brooklyn Bridge. I think they're very beautiful. Here's the one that was done for Governor's Island. So again, just some interesting approaches to earth art or the idea of installation art that works with the environment.